But I've been passionate about sustainable tourism for a long, long time. The concept not always popular, as many of you know. And it seems how, even if we have been for such a very long time, the road seems to be so long and winding towards that aim of us. And this is actually a title of a subtitle and chapter in a book that just was published. Is it this one? Yes. So just a little advertisement of that book, that is Handbook on Tourism Geographies. But I know that Ólafs, he came also with all this history of concepts. But when we hit a dead end on that road, we always tend to come up with a new concept. And it's maybe in the belief that it takes us back on the right road, or the belief it takes us to, guides us to a better road. If you look at a little bit at the history, then when this concept, Masterson, became in the 80s, when it started to be in many of the popular destinations, mass tourism became a reality there. Then it became a demand for a more authentic tourism or a real experience, and this was responded with a lot of examples like alternative tourism, green tourism, soft tourism. Maybe the most known one is ecotourism. But in 1987, the concept of sustainable tourism was released, as you know, and 3 years later, in a big conference, Globe Conference in Canada, our concept here, sustainable tourism, was released. And then, along with sustainable tourism, there's always a lot more concepts on the scene. Now we have this one, the newest one, but I'm sure it will continue. So I think that all of these comments, all of these concepts have in common a desire to make a better tourism for everyone. That's my belief. Sustainability has been a central concept within the Icelandic government tourism strategies for the last 30 years. Just look them up. And in the last 2 months, as many of you might know, we have put the bar even higher because we want to be a lead sustainable tourism. That means we want to be a model for others. That is very ambitious, just thinking about that it has not succeeded in other countries, despite a lot of experience, lot of projects and direction towards that aim. Just here's 2 quotes from a very respected tourism researchers, Michael Hall and Richard Shapley, in a recent publication where they say, simply tourism is less sustainable than ever with respect to resource use. The last 20 years have witnessed little, if any, evidence of progress towards the achievement of sustainable tourism development, or indeed a more sustainable sector. So, how sustainable is Icelandic tourism? As we want to be a leader in sustainable tourism. Do we know? How do we measure it? I think the reason why Magdalena got me here is that a few years ago I was leading a project focusing on development of sustainable indicators, and they were the results were presented in this report named Development of Sustainable Indicators for tourism in protected areas, and also in a paper later titled The Role of Public Participation for determining sustainable indicators for tourism. We can all agree that tourism, and you have been saying it here today, that tourism is a driver for jobs, creation, and the promotion of local and cultural products. But tourism is also a driver of change. I think Ragnhildur said it quite well here before. Do we want them? Yes. Do they have problems? Yes. So that's pretty much what we know. And sustainable indicators are measures used to assess these changes. Sustainable indicators are, in other words, measured to assess the impact of tourism on ecosystems, the economy, and society. Their focus is on a holistic approach, giving equal meaning, that giving equal consideration on the three dimensions of sustainability, the ecosystem, economy, and society. Just the same as Ólöf Ýr was emphasizing that we have, and that is the golden rule of sustainable development, that we have to look at it holistic to all the stakeholders and to everything that tourism impact. And that is what is so difficult. That's why we are still stuck on this road. In the context of sustainable tourism, indicators help to understand how well a tourism destination is performing in terms of economic, social, and environmental sustainability, guiding us towards a better management and a more responsible practices. In 2004, 20 years ago, the World Tourism Organization published a list of indicators of sustainable tourism, indicators for sustainable development for tourism of destinations, so I say this right, providing a framework for assessing destination sustainability. This was 20 years ago, as I said. The main emphasis in this report is communicating with residents about tourism development, exactly what you have been saying in the main emphasis in your project. So it is so very, very positive that this is now becoming the major emphasis, but it takes on all time. They started a lot earlier. They started in 1996. I think there is the first report on sustainable indicators with a few case studies in few places, and then they kind of put it together, the final result in this report. There is no special indicators for Arctic tourism. That was our interest. But there is a lot of reports, or not reports, it's kind of studies that have been working and indicators that have been drawn out for all kinds of projects. Like EU has done a lot of it, like the biggest type of tourism in EU, the coastal tourism. So there is a special indicator set which only in coastal tourism, for example. And then of course for the Arctic, but not maybe focusing on the Arctic tourism per se. But the basis of all these tourism indicators is the definition of sustainable tourism. And this definition is under constant review. Sometimes we tend to forget it, especially my students at least. I go right to 1987. It is under constant review, and from the last millennia, it has been defined as a closed system. And this new was in the beginning of the area. There was this definition, this new definition that I can't see it here on the screen, but that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present while safeguarding Earth's life support system on which the welfare of current and future generations depends. It sounds similar to the original one, but there is the emphasis of the welfare and community well-being. That was kind of the major emphasis of this new definition. And this is also what then the sustainable development goals that some of you were putting so pretty here on the years are based on. And as most of you know, then the tourism, this complex tourism system, it touches almost all of the 17 goals. Unfortunately, it's more difficult for us to grab the holistic approach, of course. When we talk about closed system, then we have to know the limits that nature and society set to the economic development. At once when we step out of these limits, we are simply not sustainable. So it is very important to know and understand those limits. They can be different according to our communities, our natural resources, and etc. But we have to know and understand it. And if our aim is to be sustainable, that we are trying to be. So now I come to this project. That was a pilot project that we did here. Our aim was to gain insight into the development and utilization of sustainable indicators for tourism outside of Iceland, and also to develop public participation framework for designing sustainable indicators for tourism in rural areas. And we chose a case study. Guess which area we chose? We chose Snæfellsnes. Actually, yes, because this is a little bit of Snæfellsnes. Actually, we chose Snæfellsnes National Park. And also because we had Ragnhildur there, and was so positive already then, helping us contacting people, etc. And also because, as Ragnhildur said, that Snæfellsnes only 5 communities, isn't it? 4. They have been cooperating in a joint certification of this Earth check, and that's, I think, the only area, because Westfjord did it, and I think they dropped out. Isn't it? If somebody from Westfjord tell me. So the interest was there. Well, we developed this framework that is based on 5 steps. And the major work processes were first to select key indicators, where we just went through all the international standards and criteria that was available at that time. And then also, because indicators are site-specific, we have to look at the local condition, local goals for sustainable development, and also on the local projects. So this was very intense. A big and thorough literature review, and then the next process was to evaluate those selected key indicators, and it is both experts and local people that are supposed to evaluate them. Oh, and then the final step is then revision, because this is a never-ending process. This is a live process. So, revise and improve. We ended up with 43 identified indicators that we divided into 4 categories: the 3 dimensions of sustainability, but also governance. Why did we have that category? Because it has been shown many times that if the government is not part what of the project or what we are doing, then it is a lot less likelihood that we will go all the way, try to do better or reach sustainability. The evaluation process was we had the evaluation of the locals and the experts, as I said before, and the locals they had to when we had several meetings with the locals, and then their job was to evaluate the relevance, feasibility, and clarity of those selected key indicators, answering questions like is it clear what this indicator stands for? Is the indicator describing the situation today? Is it easy to understand or monitor this indicator? And then the experts' work were then to evaluate credibility and is it supported by valid or reliable data? Just like a data when we are talking about that, kind of a visitor perception of the site or the local perception of tourism and so on. And we don't have that data so much. So this and all kinds of data, all data. And there's a lot of data. And then comparison is useful for comparison with other areas, standards, or areas in times. As I said, we had several meetings with the local people, and I was so glad when you said we want to be there, because it is difficult to take time from people today. It is difficult. I think maybe the projects everything is overflowing with projects with the locals. So we're always asking local people to be with us, and we don't want just to come with a report afterwards, like you said. We want local people to be part of these projects. That's what it has to be, otherwise we don't reach our results as we want to. But it was difficult. I remember we even made a lot of food because we wanted to give all the people food and so on. But we would wish to have got more people, but we had two meetings and where the people had to do that, like I said before, and then they were supposed to. This was kind of we had sheets for each of the divisions, the economy, the society, etc. And then they had to got us key if they were very disagree or very agree, and then they had to prioritize. So each person participating, they came with some kind of priorities of their indicators, because we don't have money to do everything. And then we grouped the people together, and then they had to discuss how they were prioritizing there, and their people came, they were not agreed. You were with us like that. And I think it went very well, but I remember after one group that did not reach. Because then they have to prioritize, the group had to come with one prioritize row here with the indicators. But just the discussion, that is so important, just to get people on side and discuss these matters. Okay? So, also part of the expert evaluation was to assess causal relation. Maybe many of you know this framework by the EU, GIPSI framework to assess causality between the different factors that we got to see all these indicators that we got, which of them are the driving forces and which are the pressure, current state, impact responses. As an example, social, economic, and environmental factors, lack of land use, planning for tourism, low environmental awareness in by the inhabitants, limited education of the tourism staff, etc. Pressure could be increased demand, more tourists, rapid infrastructure development, stress on ecosystem and communities, pollution of driving, etc. And the state then change in condition, biodiversity loss, soil erosion, land degradation, change. And the impacts of all this would then be economic instability, conflicts of interest, reduced welfare of communities, declining destination reputation that we absolutely don't want. And then it is the responses. How do we respond to this situation? Like planning, good tourism planning, regional planning, conservation, monitoring, long-term plan of funding. Now, our project was about the national park. Don't forget that. It was about the national park, Snæfellsjökull National Park. Just as an example of our indicator framework, we had this for every indicator, and just what I've been saying, it is first the selection of the key indicators. Lot of work has been done out there. We don't have to find the wheel again, and we kind of were just using all the literatures that we were was fit to each of the indicators, and then we had the local evaluation, and then we had the expert evaluation, and then we ended with kind of each indicator ended with an overall assessment of the utility and applicability of each indicator. And in this example, it was just like I said, it is you have to review it every time. It wasn't it just as job opportunities. That is always the biggest thing, especially in rural condition, as your project is about. It is, and in Iceland, it is always in all projects in the countryside I've been in. It is modes of transport and traffic, good roads, good accessibility. That is always important. Local experiences of tourism. How do you feel the big increase of tourism? And carrying capacity of vegetation and soil that was there, and nature conservation for the national park. And then the governance, for example, and the policy making of sustainable development, that was people found it then that it was lacking, and then also long-term appropriation of funding for the national park. As I understood, that is also not very clear, not many years ahead. So our major deliverables from this project was increased knowledge on the potential of public participation in an indicator development, qualified work procedure and assessment sheet for the public to select and evaluate indicators for sustainable tourism development, framework for sustainable tourism planning based on based on sustainability indicators that are the most important for local tourism systems, how they are interconnected, how they impact each other, and where potential conflicts arise, and set of indicators for sustainable tourism development for protected areas and rural areas in Iceland. And maybe the key takeaways then from this talk of mine today is that tourism, sustainable tourism, and I can add for the other concept, it's not a new type of tourism. It's about management. It's a management process that is based on a long-term perspective and a holistic view to gain an understanding of the causal relationship between different influences and factors. Otherwise, we can't manage it. It is important that the voice of the local people is a part of the management process. Local voices reflect the different beliefs, values, and perception of the people in a community that are of vital importance for sustainability of a place, both for the local society and tourism development. Tourism sustainability indicator is a measure to evaluate the impact of tourism on the ecosystem, economy, and society. When choosing indicators, it is important that they are measurable and feasible, as well as that they simplify the system and make it more transparent. Sustainability indicators need to be constantly re-evaluated as tourism itself changes very quickly, and they also are part of a system that is constantly changing. So it is not when we just come down with an indicator that we can just use it for the next 10 years. This is a live process. So with that, I say thank you.